Welcome to the Genesis Science Report. I'm David Rives. Thank you for joining us this evening as we continue to explore the intersection of science and faith, giving you the truth when it comes to breaking discoveries. Not just the atheistic agenda that's pushed on generations of youth in higher indoctrination facilities, also sometimes known as college. Tonight, we'll be exploring the discovery of a record-breaking prehistoric terror bird that researchers claim would have roamed the Earth millions of years ago. We'll also hear from cosmology expert Dr. John Hartnett, weighing in on a revolutionary new approach to the search for extraterrestrial life. But first, artificial intelligence, AI, is often portrayed as a revolutionary advancement that may reshape the landscape of society, industry, and even human interaction. However, it's crucial to recognize that AI is not truly artificial in the sense of being independent or self-originating. Instead, AI is a product of human ingenuity and design. Now, this leads to a profound realization. The intelligence exhibited by AI systems is indicative of a designer behind its creation. That would be humans in this case. Thus, one could argue that the existence of AI serves as a testament to the notion that intelligence inherently requires design, meaning a greater intelligence or a designer must be behind humanity itself. Now, when we examine AI, we find that it operates based on algorithms, on data processing, and decision-making frameworks that are meticulously crafted by human developers. These systems learn from vast data sets, enabling them to perform tasks like language translation, image recognition, and even strategic planning. AI has incredible potential to help and serve humanity because of the speed and accuracy at which it can pull information and make it readily available. However, the intelligence that AI exhibits is not organic. It's a reflection of the parameters set by their creators, people. This raises important questions about the nature of intelligence itself. For instance, as a person, my mind has the ability to think and to reason, but more than that, humanity has emotions and can understand moral positions. We reflect our ability to be in relationship with God. Our decisions are not based on pure logic because emotions and ethics are also at play every day and in every moment. And yet AI, on the other hand, it only reflects the vast amount of information algorithms that can be accessed. So therefore, AI possesses significant dangers, particularly because it lacks our human morality. An article from Scientific American emphasizes that AI systems, regardless of whether they possess consciousness, can be extremely dangerous. It states, the danger isn't that AI will become conscious and turn against us. The danger is that it won't be conscious at all. So think about it. The danger comes from their operational frameworks, which are devoid of ethical considerations and human empathy. Unlike humans, who navigate every moral dilemma through a complex interplay of emotions, values, societal norms, you see, AI systems operate purely on logic and predefined rules. The absence of a moral compass can lead to unintended consequences, especially if AI systems are deployed in high-stakes environments. Let's just say healthcare, or maybe law enforcement, or perhaps military applications. For instance, AI algorithms used in predictive policing may reinforce existing biases in law enforcement, leading to discrimination that affects certain communities. What about autonomous weapons systems? Well, they could make life and death decisions without the thoughtful ethical considerations that a human would typically engage in. As AI continues to evolve, or rather work more expediently, the potential for misuse or unintended consequence increases. And that raises critical questions about accountability. Who is responsible when an AI system makes a harmful decision? Is it the developers, the users, the technology itself? Perhaps we all need to take some responsibility. Or should the AI take full responsibility? You see, the duality of AI as a product of human design and a potential threat underscores the need for responsible development and ethical considerations when we deploy it. It's essential for policymakers, technology experts, and especially ethical advisors to work together in establishing guidelines for certain uses of AI. But if we try to make sure that artificial intelligence doesn't corrupt morality, whose morality do we use as a guide? And that's why it's important for Bible-believing Christians to be aware and to stand for the truth of God's Word in the midst of this new technological revolution. What does moral responsibility look like in the age of artificial intelligence? Well, if we as humans are the ones who have morality and relationship with God, then we must create frameworks that not only prioritize innovation, but also ensure that ethical considerations are integrated into the design process and that they're based upon the Word of God, not man's ethics. AI serves as a powerful reminder that intelligence requires design, clearly pointing to the existence of a greater designer behind humanity's intelligence. However, this recognition brings with it a responsibility to address the potential dangers that are posed by AI, particularly its lack of human morality. As we navigate this complex landscape, it's imperative to foster ethical considerations with a biblical worldview alongside technological advancement, ensuring that the intelligence we create serves humanity positively and responsibly, because we ultimately must answer to our Creator. But where is all of the AI leading? Are the creators of artificial intelligence trying to ascend to the heavens and create a utopia? Can they live forever through machines, or is this the next Tower of Babel that will divide the entire world? I'm cautious but optimistic that it can be used for good. Stand with me on these important issues to ensure that there remains a clear distinction between right and wrong. Hundreds of thousands more are joining us in this stand, and I urge you to support this absolutely crucial cause. I'm David Rives, and this is the Genesis Science Report. The birds of the air, they were created by God in the beginning, but they are so diverse right now. He is being handed this magnificent creature.
This bird is designed. He is chock full of design. This doesn't just happen. He'll fly over your head and he'll land and you can't hear a thing.
Is that right?
It's incredible. God thought of everything when He made them.
On Wonders Without Number. Friends of Genesis Science Network, we started this channel to make an impact in the lives of both Christians and inquiring skeptics around the world. It has done that in unbelievable ways. Now, one of our viewers wrote, "I've been watching your channel for nearly a week now, and I would like you to know the blessing that it's been to me. I've never had the finances or the opportunity to attend a university, but I've been a believer for the last 37 years. Your channel has done more for my understanding of my faith than any book I've read save the Bible, and I feel like I'm finally able to attend the lecture classes I've always wanted to. Thank you so much for your ministry." I want to thank you for your generous support. GSN is no simple project and requires monthly commitments to keep it on the air. Please consider becoming a partner with us today. Just call 931-212-7990 or click Give on our website. We are making a difference. I'm David Rives, and you're watching the Genesis Science Network. Welcome back to the report. We are jumping into this week's Q&A with a submission from Jessica on Facebook. She asks, will you address the flat earth nonsense? I have a flat earth student whose mom has told him that the earth is flat. Isaiah and some other references indicate that the earth is round, and I would love more defense. Jessica on Facebook. Thank you so much, Jessica, for the question. Yeah, there is a trend that is happening right now, and it's been happening for about the last 10, 15 years, where it's somewhat in vogue to try to question every authority that you encounter. People say, well, you know what, we've been lied to about evolutionary doctrine. We've been lied to about when it comes to some politics. We've been lied to when it comes to what the media is presenting. So maybe we've been lied to about everything, and the earth isn't really round. Well, I would agree. It's not round. It's actually spherical, or mostly spherical. There is actually a passage in the book of Isaiah that speaks to the circle of the earth, or the circuit of the earth. But guess what? That doesn't actually have anything to do with the shape of the earth. It has to do with the Lord directing the motion of the earth as it travels through space. Again, another thing that most people who believe in a flat earth don't want to hear. But the biblical view actually tells us that the earth is moving through space, and then there are references that actually associate the word dur or ball with the word eretz or earth in the Hebrew throughout Scripture. So yeah, I think that most people can logically deduce and can see from Scripture that a spherical shaped earth is the correct answer, but not everyone has all of this data. Not everyone can spend months researching it like I've done. Not everyone wants to spend months researching what is probably a ridiculous claim. So we've made it easy for you. You can go to davidrivesministries.org/flat earth. That's davidrivesministries.org/flat earth. All run together, all lowercase, and I think I've got 3 videos for you, 3 short videos, plus an article, an op-ed that I wrote talking about the red herring of the flat earth movement, as well as some other thoughts. So I encourage you, go there, share it with your friends. Let's see if we can get over some of the nonsense that has been perpetuated over the last few years. Now, we do love interacting with you, our viewers. So I want you to keep sending in these questions on social media. Please email them to us at comments@genesissciencenetwork.com, and we will try to address them on a future program. Now, for those interested in this week's Q&A topic, I want you to be sure to check out this week's featured resource. It's called Falling Flat, a refutation of flat earth claims. This book by Dr. Danny Faulkner is an incredible resource that we should all be taking advantage of. Dr. Faulkner is a respected astronomer and colleague. He wrote the foreword to my first book, Wonders Without Number. With a PhD in astronomy, he's put together a new comprehensive guide that addresses most of the common flat earth claims head on. Throughout the book, he systematically dismantles these arguments by offering powerful answers to refute misleading and false flat earth claims. He presents thoroughly researched historical and scientific evidence disproving the flat earth theory and providing vital context of biblical truths and effective apologetics for our Christian viewers. Now, one of the most fascinating aspects of this Falling Flat is its examination of how science and the church have repeatedly faced and disproven the flat earth fallacies throughout history, and yet somehow we keep coming back to them. It's a captivating journey through time, showing how our understanding of Earth's shape has shifted over the millennia. Now, whether you're looking to arm yourself with facts, curious about the history of this debate, or seeking to reconcile scientific and biblical perspectives, it's a fantastic resource. You can order your copy of Falling Flat, a refutation of flat earth claims from the Creation Superstore by visiting creationsuperstore.com. Have you ever wondered how a bird is able to fly? Now, this remarkable ability is really the result of a combination of factors, including lightweight hollow bones, the correct assembly of muscles and attachments, and of course, their feathers. Did you know that a bird that has all of the correct bones, all of the muscles, and all of the feathers still can't fly if he is missing his wing feathers? So what are feathers made from? Well, feathers are made from fibrous proteins called keratin. Really, it's the same stuff of your hair and the same stuff that your fingernails are made out of. But keratin is also what bird beaks, turtle shells, hooves, horns, and scales are made from. Now, feathers come in a wide variety, including fluffy down feathers, showy tail feathers, short body covering feathers, and then you've got beautiful wing feathers as well. Now, wing feathers are easily recognized by their asymmetrical design with an offset central shaft. If we were to look at a tail feather, this would be mostly centered, if you can see that right there. That shaft is almost straight down the center. But of all the feathers a bird has, the wing feathers are the most important when it comes to flying. Almost invisible to our eyes is the amazing special design of wing feathers that makes it possible for these things to fly. So if you pull against the side of the feather, you will see that it looks almost like a solid sheet, which prevents the air from passing through as they fly. But if you pull hard enough, these solid sheets will start to separate, which means that the air will now pass right through the feather. I don't know if we can get that or not, but what would happen next? Well, you see, this wouldn't work for flight. But the bird takes his beak and he pulls the feather back together in a process known as preening. Look at that. That's because there are extremely tiny hooks and loops that work almost like Velcro to reconnect the separated sections. Now, I've seen this under the Wonder Center scanning electron microscope, and it's amazing microscopic design. God is taking care of even the tiniest of details. But Jesus in Matthew 6:26 tells us, "Behold the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feedeth them. Are ye not much better than they?" You know, if you think that birds are special, just realize that God cares about you and who you are, and you are wonderfully made. Now, after the break, we'll be joined by Dr. Brian Thomas, an expert in paleobiochemistry, to discuss an alleged record-breaking fossil discovery that's been generating significant buzz within the paleontological community. You won't want to miss it, so stay tuned. Can you do me a favor? Tell your friends and your neighbors about GSN. Remember, it airs 24/7 and is completely free to watch. We're available on Roku, Fire TV, online, and on mobile devices and tablets. Just give them the website address, genesissciencenetwork.com. Spread the word, share the truth. I'm David Rives. Truly, the heavens declare the glory of God. Limestone, we see it all around the world, but what is it exactly and how did it get here?
But let's delve a little bit into limestone. This was found by our good friend John Mackay, our mutual friend John Mackay, a few years back, right? He was driving through the Peak District and he shouted, "Stop!" And he said, "I've seen limestone." And the driver was like, "We're in the middle of the Peak District, it's all limestone around here." No, I found some special limestone.
On Wonders Without Number.
Join us at the Wonder Center and Science Museum for this month's Unwrapped event, where we feature expert speakers presenting scientific and biblical discoveries.
It pays to learn history, folks.
We cannot create an aircraft even close to what these birds can do.
This changes the way we do biology.
Discounted tickets are available for an after-hours adventure, including museum admission with kids' hands-on activities, a planetarium movie, Tesla experience, and pre-show entertainment. Perfect for the whole family.
What you believe about the history of the world is going to affect the way that you study the world today.
You see a mathematical order here. You see the orthogonal lines. You see the repeating patterns.
You don't understand what it takes to make a cell. That's serious engineering.
Come be inspired as you learn. The evening presentation is free, but seating is extremely limited, so RSVP immediately at wondercenter.org.
Squids in limestone in the middle of the Grand Canyon.
But the big problem is, how did those fossils get deposited in the middle of a 7-foot thick layer? According to the narrative, is something like 36 million years in duration. I'm replacing the narrative with some type of rapid smothering event.
On Wonders Without Number. And welcome back to The Report. This evening, we are diving into an extraordinary discovery that's sending ripples through the scientific world. A potential new contender for the title of the largest terror bird ever found. Now, the study published by IFL Science claims this record-breaking specimen is around 12 million years old. But as we dive into the story, we'll also be taking a closer look at the assumptions underlying these conclusions. What does the discovery really tell us about the supposed relationship between birds and dinosaurs? Could these giants be evidence of an ancient world where larger creatures roamed? And how does this fit into a broader understanding of creation as described in the Bible? Joining us to unpack this topic is Dr. Brian Thomas, an expert in paleobiochemistry and a science writer at the Institute for Creation Research. Through his extensive research and work in the scientific community, Dr. Thomas has dedicated his career to exploring the intricate narratives revealed by these ancient specimens. Brian, it is great to have you back on The Report.
Thank you, David. Great to be here.
I tell you what, we appreciate your research when it comes to soft tissue, original biomolecules. You are really having an impact on the community. But this article that covered this discovery, it mentioned a leg bone of a large terror bird. Now, it turns out that this is basically a fragment of a leg bone. Can you kind of clarify this distinction and why it's important and why it kind of matches with most of what we find in the fossil record?
Sure, thank you. So it's a tibiotarsus, which is something like the tibia that we have. So it's the lower leg bone. It's the end of it, and so that means that the bones, that the carcass of the bird was separated and disarticulated is the word we use, and then not only disarticulated where one bone disconnects from its neighbor, but those bones were fragmented. So that's typical of what we see, not just in these upper level layers that have fossils in them, but even in the lower layers found below and beneath these, where there may be dinosaur remains. It's the same down there. And so what this indicates, whether you're looking at fossils up here or in the middle or down below, as something smashed and crashed these fossils or these bones as they were being emplaced in sediment. So that something implies what? High energy. So we're thinking about we have to have a violent catastrophe that involves a lot of water moving a lot of mud to explain these things.
Yeah, not just high energy, but again, you mentioned a catastrophe. You and I have been on paleontological dig sites before, and most of the bones that we find throughout the fossil world are disarticulated. They seem to be torn apart. In some cases, you're finding things that were buried underneath massive mud layers, and sometimes they're mostly preserved. But the vast majority of time, it looks like this was just some horrible, terrible event that broke apart things and ground them down and then displaced them and then buried them and started the fossilization process. Now, this particular discovery adds to a growing body of evidence showing that many ancient species were significantly larger than pretty much anything we see today. Dinosaurs are a good example. Can you share more about this phenomenon of gigantism and maybe some other examples of oversized prehistoric creatures?
Well, think about, I think a lot of people have seen those pictures of the giant dragonfly with an almost 4-foot long wingspan. Well, today's dragonflies is just a couple inches of wingspan. That's an arthropod, right? But then we have fossils of like an 8-foot long beaver. So, well, the glyptodon. You've heard of the glyptodon, and that's it's like an armadillo that's the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. So these creatures, I mean, it's kind of like you name it, and it was bigger. Bigger cats. Woolly mammoth was a bigger, version of the elephant kind, had a lot of hair on it. So gigantism is the word we use for that. And so the question is, why were creatures larger in the past, and why have they become, generally speaking, smaller in today's world?
Yeah. And that is a question that I know you at ICR, y'all have been researching these types of things, trying to come to a better understanding of not just the gigantism, but also the age limits of these creatures. Could they have lived longer? But the thing is, when it comes to the scientific community, most of the narrative is pushing this birds and dinosaurs comparison. Even this article itself says, now that we know birds are dinosaurs, right? That is a dogmatic statement. We know birds are dinosaurs. Talk about the bird-dinosaur issue for just a moment.
Yeah, thanks. Well, it is an assumption, right? Now we know birds are dinosaurs. I think what that comes from is a series of fossils where we have elevated certain extinct birds to the level of being dinosaur, and we have named certain extinct smallish dinosaurs, and we call them birds. And so we're conflating the identification. And so it adds a whole lot of confusion. So you dump all these fossils in a pot, and then whatever a researcher wants to say about it, well, there's these certain similarities to bird, and even though it ends up actually being a dinosaur to other researchers, and then they might look at a bird and say, well, certain similar features to dinosaur, so let's call it a dinosaur. So you've got the misnaming and the misidentification, but with each of these that's been misnamed and misidentified, there's an opponent. There's an opposing view from within the evolutionary community saying, no, that's actually a bird. No, that's actually a dinosaur. And so, but it feeds into if we can call birds dinosaurs and dinosaurs birds, it feeds into what the evolutionary scheme and narrative, and that becomes a new proof of evolution, even though the proof is actually boils down to hype and misidentification, unfortunately.
It does. And again, there are numerous differences between what we would classify birds and what most people would classify dinosaurs. And you have to go to great lengths to think that one could somehow turn into the other. Strides have been made in this attempt by some researchers saying, well, maybe dinosaurs weren't cold-blooded. Maybe they were, since they may be related to birds, maybe they were warm-blooded. Maybe dinosaurs had so many feathers on them. They were like giant chickens, right? There are all of these attempts to try to associate, but at the same time, from what we know from the fossil record, there are a lot of differences. But I think really the key here is to understand that we're talking about what is supposed to be a 12 million year old fossil. And many dinosaur fossils are supposed to be even much older than that, 66 plus million years old. Sort of take us home by talking about your research in soft tissue or original biomolecules and how those finds within these supposedly millions of year old fossils are challenging what we've been told by the secular community.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so yeah, those are the age assignments that you just named, those numbers. And those age assignments, we have to have an old, those are evolutionary ages. I don't agree with them. But so what they pull the fossil out and they say the fossil came from this layer, and they consult some book which has some chart in it that someone else made. So there's a assurance that they're on the right track because this is what the other guys have said about it. That's basically where the science goes. But and then with the dinosaur, you have to assign an age that's 66 million or whatever, just because that's what's in the charts. But the data, as you mentioned, the data from the blood vessels that are in these fossils, the blood vessels now, and other original biochemicals and tissue fragments that are still in there, that they can't last even 1 million years. And so we have over 120, we're about to 125 secular published technical journal articles. One that just came out this week that I co-authored in the journal Analytical Chemistry, where we found protein in an Edmontosaurus the protein shouldn't be there if it's that old, if it's even a fraction of the age assignment. So I think these died in the flood. I think these are Noah's flood-related flood fossils. That explains the water, the violence, the catastrophe, and the fresh look of these proteins.
I believe that I would concur on every front with you. I really appreciate your research. It is really groundbreaking what you're doing, and thank you so much for being here to speak into these issues and to talk about things that are coming up on a daily basis, but that when you actually dive deep, they're really pointing us right back to biblical authority and the truth of the gospel. Thanks so much, Brian.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. And it's time to take a quick break, but we are going to be right back with more on the Genesis Science Report. Hi, I'm David Rives, and I'm inviting you to visit the Creation Superstore, the largest origins-related store in the world. Not only will you find every book and video title on creation versus evolution, science, but also every resource that teaches us about our origin and how it all takes us back to Genesis, a grand designer, the God of the Bible, and ultimately, yes, the gospel message. Documentaries your family can trust, fossils, teaching videos, children's books, church Bible studies, homeschool supplements, and expert scientific literature. If you can't find a title, call us up and we'll add it. Normally, you'd have to visit dozens of sites to gain access to all of the titles that are out there, and then you would be at a loss to whether the book or video was worth the purchase. But not here. We've curated the best of the best into top 10 lists. And on some of my favorite products, you'll find the Rives rating, where I help guide you on the best resources available for not only those who love history, biblical studies, and creation science, but also great products at the layman level, easy to understand for those who are learning or want their children and grandchildren to be exposed to a biblical worldview. Just look for the Rives rating to find my personal favorites. Use the search bar to look up a topic or follow our menu to sort by ministry, subject, or author. Give us a call at 931-212-7990 as you're browsing. We have ministry volunteers who will do their best to assist you at all hours of the day and even help you place your order. Yes, a real person. Get ready for a secure shopping experience brought to you by the leaders of creation-based research. Your purchase goes towards ministry outreach and also supports the authors and organizations who publish the material, most of whom are personal friends and colleagues of mine. I'm David Rives. Truly, the heavens declare the glory of God. And we're back, and it's time to hear from you, our viewers. Now, our first viewer voices submission tonight comes from Facebook, where Shawnee commented, "I cannot wait to watch Genesis Science Network every evening. I get so much information from them, and it is amazing to see the truth that comes out of this show. It is a must-watch for me." Shawnee, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We are getting so many positive responses from this show and from the network, including salvation reports. We're getting so many testimonials from people whose lives are impacted because they're finally able to understand what's currently happening in science and how it relates to our Christian worldview. It is not the atheistic story that you're being spoon-fed on Discovery Channel, Nat Geo, PBS, and NASA. Our second testimonial comes from Patty C., who recently visited the Wonder Center and had this to say. "We have been there 2 times to the Wonder Center and thoroughly enjoyed learning about all of the amazing things that the Lord has created. We enjoyed the new exhibits. We met David Rives. We continue learning more by watching the Genesis Science Network." Thank you so much for that. It was nice to meet you. It is really interesting that when people come to the Wonder Center, just outside of Nashville, when they walk through the exhibits, when they learn, then they become inspired by what they're seeing, by how their faith is just bolstered by everything that we're finding within the scientific world. And then they pick up the Genesis Science Network and they start watching this show and all of our other resources. They start getting our email updates, and it's a weekly encouragement, sometimes a daily encouragement for these people who are learning through the museum and then growing in their faith. Now, you can reach out to us. I would like for you to share your stories with us by emailing comments at genesiссciencenetwork.com. And now, let's turn our attention to one of nature's beautiful intricacies, the migration of hummingbirds. You see, in this week's Genesis Science Minute, we'll explore how these tiny birds, traveling thousands of miles alone, manage to navigate with incredible accuracy. Let's take a look right now.
Many birds migrate in flocks, traveling south for the winter and north for summer. The Arctic tern travels an estimated 45,000 miles each year. Hummingbirds are known to migrate up to several thousand miles per year, traveling from the northern U.S. down to Central America and back. They do that on their own. They don't travel in flocks, and their parents didn't teach them. Banded hummingbirds have been known to find their way back to the same backyard the next spring, a feat that many commercial airline pilots say is almost impossible without instruments. How do they do it? There is only one explanation. Our Creator shows them the way. When it seems like you're traveling alone, know that God will provide you with the directions you need to find the way. When it's time to move out, all you have to do is listen for His call. I'm David Rives. Truly, the heavens declare the glory of God.
For more information, visit David Rives Ministries at davidrives.com. davidrives.com.
And now for our ministry report. It feels just like yesterday. Thanksgiving was upon us, and now, wow, we're already looking ahead to spring. But before we look ahead, I want to reflect on some of the highlights from the holiday season. December brought joy and laughter to the Wonder Center with our Laughing All the Way comedy show. We had a great turnout, and it was incredible to see so many people come together for an evening of laughter and faith-filled fun. It was a wonderful way to celebrate and share positive entertainment with the community here at the Wonder Center. And speaking of the museum, we're excited to introduce our newest resident, Wanda, our charming iguana. Wanda is a rhino iguana, and if you take a close look, you'll see something really unique about her. Check out those horns on her nose. It's one of the distinguishing features of this beautiful reptile. Now, Wanda is part of a critically endangered species native to the tropical islands of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Though she's an expert when it comes to soaking up the sun, Wanda isn't the best climber compared to other iguanas, but she certainly got her own charm. One of Wanda's quirky traits? Guess what? She sneezes salt water. That's right, her body produces extra salt, which she then expels through her nose. It's a fascinating adaptation to help her survive in her native coastal habitats. We're thrilled to have her here, and we hope you come by to meet her in person. And now a reminder that coming up, we have an Astronomy Day and Star Party. This happens on February the 6th. Join us for a full day of fun, exploration, and wonder. We will have expert speakers, interactive breakout sessions, immersive planetarium shows, and incredible night sky viewing. It might be cold, but it's going to be an unforgettable event, and you won't want to miss out. Now, you can purchase tickets on our website. They will go fast, so grab them right now. And if you feel led to support this crucial work, you can make a contribution on our website right now and see amazing impact across the country and around the world. Your tax-deductible contributions are so important to everything that we do. It allows us to continue sharing the wonders of God's creation with people around the world. Now, one of the best ways to keep up with everything happening here at the ministry is by connecting with us on YouTube and Facebook. You can learn more about us or to make a contribution, visit our website or call us at 931-212-7990. And now let's look at one of the most mind-boggling examples of intelligent design, the blood clotting mechanism. In this week's Heavens Declare, we'll explore how this incredible process works seamlessly within the body, stopping bleeding almost instantly with an intricate set of steps called a cascade. We're going to see how this complex system, which can't function without every part working together, points to the existence of a creator. Let's take a look right now. Why should you believe in creation and not evolution? I mean, scientifically speaking. Haven't we proven that evolution is a fact? Well, the theories of evolution would indicate that life is the result of chance processes over millions and millions of years. Darwinian evolution claims that life and all of life's systems have slowly evolved from simple to complex. But many of the features we see in nature are irreducibly complex. Now, what does that mean? Something is irreducibly complex if it needs all of its parts in order to function. If you were to take away even one part or one step, well, the system would fail. For example, a modern car is very complex, but it's not irreducibly complex. So you could get rid of the air conditioning, the power windows, or the seat belts without rendering the car totally useless. The fenders could go, backseat, speaker system, even the windshield. And it would still be functional as an automobile. But a mousetrap, on the other hand, isn't complex, but it is irreducibly complex. Each piece is needed or else the trap's not going to work. Now, in nature, we see many examples of irreducible complexity. Let's think about the blood clotting mechanism. So say you're preparing dinner, and just as you get that last roll buttered for the oven, you slice your finger. Well, you don't think about the incredible, complex process that's going on inside of your body to stop the bleeding and form a protective clot. You just slap on a bandage and go on with your day. But inside of your body, there's an amazing process happening. You see, blood clotting requires what's known as a cascade. This means that each step is vital for the next step. You can't skip a step of the cascade because each one is dependent upon the previous step. Now, the blood clotting cascade requires over 100 steps. Wow. Each step must be in place the first time an animal is cut, or else it would slowly bleed to death. So, how did over 100 steps just happen to all be in place at the right time? Having half the steps isn't any good. The animal would bleed to death and not pass its genes along. No evolution. The whole system must be in place the very first time that it's needed. And not only do all of these steps have to be in place, but the body also needs to be able to clot the blood just right. So only the cut is sealed and not the entire blood vessel. Clots are life-saving when they seal a wound, but they would be deadly if they block the blood supply. And yet our body knows how to do this without us even having to give it a second thought. Blood clotting is a challenge for evolutionary ideas. There's no way all of the necessary steps could have all evolved together at the same time. Instead of trusting in these old, outdated, and sometimes ridiculous theories of Darwinian evolution, maybe we should be looking towards the new research, scientific data that seems to be pointing us back to biblical accuracy. A creator who intelligently designed the universe, life, and the blood clotting mechanism. You know, there's just one more scientific reason that you shouldn't believe in biological evolution. It takes a lot of faith. I'm David Rives. Truly, the heavens declare the glory of God. Aren't you glad we have a grand designer who has engineered all of this? All right, up next we are diving into a fascinating discussion about a bold new theory in the search for extraterrestrial life, aliens. Stay tuned to hear insights from a PhD physicist coming up on the Genesis Science Report. Tune in to the Genesis Science Network Knowledge Block as you learn real, cutting-edge science, not evolutionary theories and agendas. Whether you're in junior or senior high, a homeschooler, or an adult looking for higher education, we bring you a fresh perspective each weekday. Our goal is to equip you with another block to build and strengthen your faith, giving you solid evidence. Join us each weekday at 11 a.m. Central. I want to thank you for supporting GSN this year. Your support is helping us send this broadcast to millions of households around the globe. You know, in a society where the theories of Darwinian evolution are bombarding our youth via schools and universities and through peer pressure, We need to saturate the airwaves with the truth of real biblical science, and you are making this happen. Your one-time, monthly, or generous end-of-year tax-deductible love gift keeps this network streaming 24/7 at no cost to our viewers. Thank you for your support. I'm David Rives. Truly, the heavens declare the glory of God. Is there a biblical view of animal rights?
We've actually got a report that was in one of our British newspapers a little while back. Don't kill mosquitoes, let them take blood donation. Now here's a great example of being futile in your thinking, right?
Right.
At what point should we be looking after animals? At what point should we be treating animals as if they were humans? So it's a really popular topic.
On Wonders Without Number. Welcome back to The Report. Our next conversation examines a groundbreaking shift in the search for extraterrestrial life. For decades, scientists in this field have been largely focused on finding biosignatures, signs of life, on distant planets. But a recent study takes a dramatically different approach. It proposes a radical shift in how we search for life beyond Earth. Now, this study, published in Popular Mechanics, suggests that advanced alien civilizations, rather than leaving behind subtle chemical traces, might have left a far more permanent mark: the very structure of planetary systems themselves. Here to weigh in on this discussion is Professor John Hartnett. Dr. Hartnett is an Australian physicist and cosmologist with a PhD in physics from the University of Western Australia. He's contributed to over 200 published research papers and books. He retired from academia in 2016 and is now focusing and speaking on biblical creation, astrophysics, and cosmology. Dr. Hartnett, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, David.
You know, it's great to have you on, and this study is very particularly interesting. It proposes that alien civilizations may have already terraformed planets and spread life via panspermia. We'll get into that in a second. What are your initial thoughts on this claim, and what scientific evidence is being presented to support this?
Well, second part first, actually no scientific evidence is being presented to support it. My first reaction is it's clutching at straws. They couldn't detect the biosignatures, say, in the atmospheres of these so-called putative, like, habitat planets. And so they've given up on that approach, and now they're looking for similarities between planets, making the assumption that some advanced alien races may have terraformed these planets, and it's sort of a macro scale approach rather than the fine detail that they were once searching for.
That's a great point, and what I noticed just glancing through the article, it's full of fuzzy words, of magic words. So what if a distant alien civilization? Terraforming would likely lead to many worlds, while this potentially widens the target for hunting. But then they have to admit in one of these points, said, but we're still limited because we don't understand how life could form in the first place. Talk about panspermia and how that actually doesn't answer the question of the origin of life.
Well, it's the old regression problem, isn't it? If you can't explain where life came from on Earth, you then go out into space and you say, well, maybe aliens seeded life here in the first place. But then you have the problem of where did that life come from, and it's that infinite regression problem. You never get down to the real original source of the origin of life, which they admit in that paper. They have to make some very large assumptions about, because outside of the biblical creation record, in the Genesis record, there is no naturalistic explanation for the origin of life.
Well, exactly. You know, a major hurdle in accepting the claim that they're making is the complexity of life's origins. And again, you said the article acknowledges it, but this approach, again, is very, very vague. And when it comes to abiogenesis, or life coming from non-life, that goes against scientific principles. So if it goes against scientific principles to believe that life can form naturally in the first place, then isn't that basically pseudoscience?
Absolutely. It's like I like to say, they talk about astrobiology, but that's a fact-free science because there is no evidence of life on other planets. I mean, extraterrestrial aliens don't exist. So how can you have a science based around that, you know? And it's back to this problem, like you say, abiogenesis, no idea how life began, even on Earth in the, you know, allegedly 4.2 billion years ago now, they say, no idea. So now they forget about that and let's push out into space and look for similarities between planets and posit the idea that these aliens have terraformed different planets. But the other problem is Darwinian evolution, the idea of mutation and natural selection as a mechanism for life to evolve, like on Earth. Well, they have that same problem, don't they, out there in the universe, because the paper is claiming that, it's not claiming, I should say, it's assuming that these aliens could exist. Well, I would make the argument they can't exist because the 2 points, abiogenesis, origin of life, just by random chance from biomolecules, and the modern construct of neo-Darwinian evolution, these two, these are insurmountable blocks to the whole idea. So it doesn't matter if it's in space or on Earth. You know, life cannot have a naturalistic origin. It's impossible.
So in other words, this paper is completely irrelevant except for to stir up popular ideas and to kind of capture our imaginations when it comes to aliens, because again, you have major hurdles to jump over before you could even start to talk about alien life. Talk about the philosophical and biblical inconsistencies of kind of a materialistic approach to the origin of life.
Well, this is, again, the point I would say is that they don't understand what life is, because they seem to assume that life is just the product of the molecules, like the DNA, that the code, the DNA code, is written on the molecules in the genome, but the molecules themselves do not carry the code. The code had to be imposed upon those molecules by an intelligent mind. A perfect analogy is the concept of ink on a sheet of paper. When someone's writing on the paper, the molecules of the paper and ink do not carry the information that's on the page. And it's the intelligent mind that created the code, the written text, that imposed that information. And that's the problem, that in fact, this is all naturalistic science. They don't get it. They never have. They believe just given sufficient time, information will spontaneously arise.
Yeah, huge assumptions, and it can. Okay, we have found through scientific research what appears to be several thousand extrasolar planets orbiting other stars, right? So we have several thousand possibilities that we know of for the potential of alien life or terraforming or whatever you want to call that. But just let's assume hypothetically that this study's conclusions are correct and we do discover evidence of aliens terraforming different planets. What would be the broader implications for humanity's understanding of its place in the cosmos, and does it somehow degrade the Earth as a less special place to be?
That would be the argument that they're making here. I would claim even if they found planets clustering in certain regions of space that have similar properties, gases in the atmosphere, size, density, distance from their sun, in the habitable zone, that sort of thing, that is still no argument to support life, because it's still ignoring the elephant in the kitchen, the whole problem of what life is in the first place. And I don't see, from a biblical perspective, a believer in the Genesis history, it has no bearing. It's irrelevant, actually. But in the unbelieving mindset, in their world, it's sort of a justification that life may exist out there in the universe. It's really the attempt to supplant God, the creator, to get rid of him and say, well, no, we don't need a creator because life has arisen out there in the universe. It arose here on Earth 5 billion years ago, or 4.5 billion years ago now. Therefore, it, by the same logic, must have arisen elsewhere in the universe. But it's flawed logic, because it completely ignores the elephant in the kitchen, which is life itself. What is life? And how does it, where did life come from?
Absolutely. As a credentialed scholar, you have done a lot of research in this and come away with the conclusion that life is very complex, and it points us back to a designer. I believe, obviously, that designer is the God of the Bible. Dr. Hartnett, thank you so much for joining us today, and I would love to have you back on in the future.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I'd love to come back. Yeah.
And that's it for today. I want to thank you for joining us on the Genesis Science Report. Until next week, keep looking up. I'm David Rives. Truly, the heavens declare the glory of God.